Tried to blame it on the dogs.
You're excused.
I told you the truth.
And I screamed.
And Johnny swings at her, and I don't even wait.
You did push me. You did hold me down. You did tie me up.
You make me sick.
Oh.
2022 is a year to remember at Law&Crime. Outbursts between defendants and attorneys.
The defendant and the court with.
So that had to be said. So it's the defendant.
Judges lashing out in court.
While there were media in the room, this is not a press conference. This is clearly not your show. And you need to respect the process.
Even parents taking a jab at the jury.
If killing 17 innocent people and wounding 17 more does not warrant the death penalty, then what possibly does?
All of it on this special episode of Our Year in Review.
Hi everybody, I'm Rachel Stockman, and thanks so much for joining us as we go through the top 10 most memorable trials of 2022. Our courtrooms delivered tension, emotion, and even a couple of laughs as we brought you coverage from gavel to gavel. So let's revisit some of those moments that brought everyone to the edge of their seats. Starting our countdown in our number 10 spot, we head to Louisville, Kentucky, and revisit the moment a former police officer charged in connection to Breonna Taylor's death broke down on the stand.
It appeared to me that they were being executed with this rifle.
Brett Hakinson faced 3 counts of wanton endangerment for opening fire into Taylor's apartment in March 2020. He was one of 3 officers that carried out a no-knock search warrant, suspecting Taylor's ex-boyfriend, Jamarcus Glover, of drug dealing. Between Taylor's current boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, and the officers, 32 shots were fired and Taylor was killed. Glover was not in Taylor's apartment at the time of the incident. Hankinson was the only officer charged in the raid, and he took the stand to give his side of the story. As a movement outside the courthouse rose up in Taylor's memory, a former Louisville police detective tearfully fought for his innocence.
I knew Sergeant Mattingly was down, and I knew they were trying to get to him. And it appeared to me that they were being executed with this rifle.
So what did you do?
I returned fire through the sliding glass door. And that did not stop the threat.
What were you firing at?
The muzzle flashes that I could see in the apartment that were illuminated by that illuminated that sliding glass door.
Is there anything, Brett, that you feel like you did wrong on March 13th at 3003 Springfield Drive?
Absolutely not.
Why did you do what you did?
To protect myself, and more importantly, and first, primary function at that time when I returned fire was to protect the fellow detectives that were stuck in that breezeway.
Hankinson spent over 4 hours on the stand, and at the end of the day, he was acquitted by a jury. No one has been convicted in Taylor's death. And now we move over to the Sunshine State, where one man stood trial for killing his entire family in a city just outside of Disney World. Coming in at number 9 is the case of Anthony Tote.
It's not mine. I'm here. I did it. Yeah. It was over with. Leave it with that.
Prosecutors argued that this confession was one of several that Tote made to law enforcement about the 2019 murders. But after the fact, Tote insisted he was under the influence during his encounters with investigators. During the trial, he took the stand and told the jury who the real killer was.
My wife was at the top of the stairs. My house was very quiet, very unnormal having 3 kids, one 13, one 10 at the time, the other one 4 years old. She brought me in the room. She had blood on her shirt. And after that, after I said a few uncolored words to her, I then discovered the kids. I went into the rooms and found them dead.
Why did you say that you performed the incisions on the bellies of the children?
It goes back to the aspect is I was covering for my wife. Obviously, unsuccessfully, because as you saw by the video, compared to what they said, I had no clue had my kids died.
Told investigators that the couple had a suicide pact over the belief the apocalypse was near. And when it came time for Tote's demise, he could not successfully end his life. After the jury convicted Tote on all the charges, he made one final plea to the court, and it was not well received.
My kids and my wife were everything to me. They were the center of my universe. When I came home, I was shattered. I appreciate you listening to me, sir, and I know you're in your situation. I did not do this.
This is not helping you from this progress on, so I encourage you to.
I'm sorry. I love my wife. I love my kids. They were first and foremost in my life. I did not do this. I provided for my wife. I don't remember that time, from the time I fell down the stairs to the time I woke up in the jail.
Tote is currently serving the rest of his life behind bars. Our next courtroom takes us to Hennepin County, Minnesota, where another police officer stood trial for murder, this time in the death of 20-year-old Dante Wright. In our number 8 spot is the sentencing of Kim Potter.
To the family of Dante Wright, I am so sorry that I brought the death of your son.
Potter made headlines in April 2021 after shooting and killing Wright during a traffic stop. Potter is seen on body cam footage announcing the use of her taser after Wright resisted arrest. But she instead pulled out her handgun, discharging a single bullet into Wright's chest. In December 2021, a jury convicted Potter of first and second degree manslaughter. And during sentencing, Wright's mother addressed his killer.
I have to be the voice for myself, my family, my community, but most of all, I have to be the voice of my son, Dante. Your Honor, I hope the defendant is listening as I speak loud and clear today. And yes, I refer to her as defendant because I will not give her the respect of calling her by her name. She referred to Dante over and over again as the driver, as if killing him wasn't enough to dehumanize him. She never once said his name. And for that, I'll never be able to forgive you. And I'll never be able to forgive you for what you've stolen from us. I hope you're listening and don't mistake any of my words, because we can't afford the defendant to make any more mistakes. His name is Dante Demetrius Wright.
Potter herself would eventually address the court, trembling as she begged for forgiveness.
Katie, I understand a mother's love, and I am sorry I broke your heart. My heart is broken for all of you. Earlier, when you said that I didn't look at you during the trial, I don't believe I had a right to. I didn't even have a right to be in the same room with you. I am so sorry that I hurt you so badly. My heart is broken and devastated for all of you. I pray for Dante and all of you many, many times a day. He is not more than one thought away from my heart, and I have no right for that, for him to be in my heart. I do pray that one day you can find forgiveness, only because hatred is so destructive to all of us. And that I pray peace will always be with you and your family.
Potter is currently serving 16 months in prison of her 2-year sentence, and the rest of it on supervised release. And right now we have to take a quick break, but stick around as we continue our countdown of the most memorable trials in 2022. Coming up, an ex-wife facing her abuser during testimony, and one infamous radio host defending his right to free speech. Stay with us.
I wanted my identity back and did not want to be tied to the twisted things that they were saying I did by making me the Sandy Hook man.
And welcome back to a very special edition of Law&Crime. I'm Rachel Stockman, and thanks so much for joining us here. If you're just tuning in, we're counting down the top 10 most memorable trials of 2022. Up next in our number 7 spot is a trial out of Tampa, Florida, involving one defendant who had to cross-examine his victim, who also happens to be his ex-wife. This is the case of Trevor Summers.
I have reasons to believe that you were there to kill me because I came that close to death.
Prosecutors argued that Summers kidnapped Alyssa Mathewson and attempted to kill her twice. Summers plotted a murder-suicide after a judge barred the couple from seeing each other in the midst of a divorce. Summers, on the other hand, was convinced the incident was consensual, so much so that he fired his own defense counsel and went face-to-face with his ex-wife as she testified on the stand.
Did I threaten you to have sex?
You broke into my home in the middle of the night when I was sleeping, attacked me and tied me up. I take that as, yes, you threatened me to have sex with you. Yes.
Did I threaten you or force you to have sex with me?
My answer is yes, you forced me to have sex with you.
Did I hold you down?
No.
Did I push you?
Not at that time of having sex, but prior to having sex, you did push me, you did hold me down, you did tie me up, you did attack me, and you did break into my home when I was sleeping. You raped me.
So you're calling it rape?
It is. That is the definition of rape, to come into someone's home and attack them and tie them up and then have sex with them. That is the definition of rape.
Did you know I was coming to your house?
No.
Did we have any conversations prior to, between February 18th and March 10th, 2017?
You had sent me text messages after February 18th about the vandalism of my home that happened when I was at work on February 21st. And you had offered to come to my home and clean it up in a text message. I told you to never come to my home. And then when the courts opened the following day, I filed the protective order that made you not be allowed to contact me, not be allowed to come to my home, or it would be against the law and you would be charged.
You didn't have any idea of what else we were planning to do that night?
No, I did not want any of this.
Mathewson spent 2 days on the stand as her ex-husband and alleged abuser questioned her credibility. In the end, Summers was convicted on all counts and is serving the rest of his life in prison. And we said a controversial radio personality was on the list, and in our number 6 spot out of Austin, Texas, is the defamation trial of InfoWars host Alex Jones.
I actually feel good because I get a chance to, for the first time, say what's really going on instead of the corporate media and high-powered law firms manipulating what I actually did.
Jones lost a lawsuit by default judgment against Neil Heslin and Scarlett Lewis, the parents of 6-year-old Jesse Lewis. Their son was one of the 26 students and teachers killed in the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in Newtown, Connecticut. Jones took the shooting to InfoWars, calling it a hoax, and those involved crisis actors. Heslin and Lewis detailed their struggles on the stand following Jones's coverage, including years of threats and harassment from conspiracy theorists. And their testimony did not go unanswered, as Jones himself took the stand to defend his constitutional right to free speech. But what came out of it was a fatal error by his defense counsel.
You guys have all this stuff and you say we didn't give anything. It's ridiculous.
Mr. Jones, you know how an iPhone works, right? You've had iPhone text messaging for several years now.
Yeah.
What does it mean if the messages are in blue? Whose messages are those? Whose phone is this taken from?
I don't know whose phone's taken from. I mean, I turned the phone over and said, take the stuff off.
Can I have you look in the very bottom below the very bottom left corner? Is that your phone number?
Yes. So you did get my text messages. And it said you didn't. Nice trick.
Do you know where I got this?
No.
Mr. Jones, did you know that 12 days ago, Your attorneys messed up and sent me an entire digital copy of your entire cell phone with every text message you've sent for the past 2 years, and when informed, did not take any steps to identify it as privileged or protect it in any way. And as of 2 days ago, it fell free and clear into my possession. And that is how I know you lied to me when you said you didn't have text messages about Sandy Hook. Did you know that?
I told you the truth. This is your Perry Mason moment. I gave them my phone, and then...
Mr. Jones, you need to answer the question.
No,
Did you know this happened?
No, I didn't know this happened. But I mean, I told you I gave them the phone over.
Just
And
answer
you
the
said,
question.
you said in your deposition, you searched your phone. You said you pulled down the text, did the search function for Sandy Hook. That's what you said, Mr. Jones, correct?
And I had several different phones with this number, but I did, yeah. Well, of course. I mean, that's why you got it.
No, Mr. Jones, that's not what happened.
My lawyer sent it to you, but I'm hiding it. Okay.
Mr. Jones?
Jones wasn't only confronted by the attorneys, the judge had to lay down the law several times.
They were just you abusing my tolerance and making asides to the jury improperly, and in at least 2 cases, untruthfully. Do you understand what I have said? Yes or no? Do you understand what I have said?
Yes, I believe what I said was true. So
Yes, you believe everything you say is true, but it isn't. Your beliefs do not make something true. That is what we're doing here. Just because you claim to think something is true does not make it true. It does not protect you. It is not allowed. You are under oath. That means things must actually be true when you say them. Don't talk. You understand what I have said.
I do understand.
You understand the instructions I have given you for your testimony in court.
Yes.
And let's not forget when Jones approached one of the plaintiffs after court was over.
And that he's slow and autistic.
No, I'm slow.
That's it. Stop talking anymore. You're not doing this. That's not even a thought. That's not the way this goes.
In the end, Jones was forced to pay out $50 million to the plaintiffs, and InfoWars, believe it or not, is still in operation. And right smack in the middle of our countdown, we head to Chicago. Coming in at number 5, the sentencing of former Empire actor Jussie Smollett.
The damage you've done to yourself is way beyond anything else that can happen to you from me or any other judge that would be sentencing you in this criminal case. You are now a permanently convicted felon.
Prosecutors argued that Smollett staged a hate crime on himself after the actor publicly claimed that he was beaten by 2 men in 2019. Smollett said the 2 men yelled racist and homophobic slurs at him as they put his head in a noose. One of the men involved in the incident testified during trial, telling a jury that he was paid by Smollett to carry out the attack. Smollett testified in his own defense, refuting the claims of the alleged attacker. In the end, Smollett was convicted on 6 counts of felony disorderly conduct, and after his sentence was handed down, he made sure the court was certain of one thing.
I am not suicidal. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay.
I am not suicidal.
Okay.
I am not suicidal. I am innocent, and I am not suicidal. If I did this, then it means that I stuck my fist in the fears of Black Americans in this country for over 400 years and the fears of the LGBTQ community. Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this. And I am not suicidal. And if anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself. And you must all know that. I respect you, Your Honor. I respect your decision. Jail time, I am not suicidal.
Okay.
And after spending 150 days in jail, Smollett is currently serving 30 months of felony probation. And there are plenty more moments where that all came from, but right now we need to get in a quick break. Still ahead, a defamation payout for the Record Brooks out in Connecticut and the school shooter trial that left everyone speechless.
He is a sociopath that does not deserve to live amongst us. This creature, that creature, has no redeemable value.
And welcome back, everybody, to this very special edition of Law and Crime. I'm Rachel Stockman, bringing you the top 10 most memorable trials of 2022. We are inching forward to our top spot, so let's pick it up where we left off. And if you thought Alex Jones wouldn't reappear in our countdown, think again, because in our number 4 spot is his defamation trial. And this is a different one out of Connecticut.
How many times do I have to say when I'm speaking, you stop? You have been a member of the bar for a long, long time, and you know the rules.
Jones faced another payout to 8 additional families in court following his $50 million payout in Austin, Texas. This all stems for his comments on his site InfoWars surrounding the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, as he repeatedly called it a hoax and those involved crisis actors. Jones also took another stab at the witness stand, testifying only under direct examination from the plaintiff's attorney. And with over a dozen plaintiffs up for monetary damages, the jury came back with a jaw-dropping verdict.
$120 million, $55 million, $54 million, $28,800,000, $57,600,000, $73,600,000, $81,600,000, $52 million, $48 million, $66 million, $57,600,000, $68,800,000, $90 million, $76 million.
The amount nearly $1 billion, making it Jones's biggest payout to date. We now move to the top 3, and sitting in 3rd place out of Broward County, Florida, is the trial and sentencing of confessed Parkland shooter Nicholas Cruz.
As far as I'm concerned, real justice would be done if every family here were given a bullet and your AR-15, and we got to pick straws, and each one of us got to shoot one at a time at you.
The shooter at 19 years old opened fire at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School on Valentine's Day in 2018. That shooting left 17 people dead, 17 others injured, and a community in ruins. For 3 long months, a death-qualified jury listened to testimony from experts, character witnesses, and those impacted by the mass tragedy, all to determine if the shooter would spend the rest of his life in prison or face execution. And there was no shortage of emotion from all parties. Take a look at some moments after the defense rested its case.
Well, let me just stop. State, are you going to have anything ready for today?
No. We're expecting,
there was 80 witnesses.
We're waiting for 40 more witnesses.
I just want to say this is the most uncalled for, unprofessional way to try a case. You all knew about this, and even if you didn't make your decision until this morning, to have 22 people plus all of this staff and every attorney march into court, be waiting as if it's some kind of game. Now I have to send them home. The state's not ready. They're not going to have a witness ready. We have another day wasted. I honestly, I have never experienced a level of unprofessionalism in my career. It's unbelievable.
So, Judge, if we had any pretrial matters, you asked us to be here at 9:15. We were here at 9:15 to discuss pretrial matters. I have been practicing in this county for 22 years.
You know what? I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear
Well, Judge, you're insulting me on the record in front of my client, and I believe that I should be able to
Okay,
defend my
you
client.
can do that later. You can make your record later, but you've been insulting me the entire trial. So, blatantly, taking your headphones off, arguing with me, storming out, coming late intentionally if you don't like my rulings. So, quite frankly, this has been long overdue. So please be seated. You can receive the evidence. I will receive the evidence. And then you can put whatever you want on the record at the end.
At the end of the case, the jury spared the shooter's life, and his sentencing didn't go without some pretty intense words from the victim's parents.
You obviously have a very high tolerance for murder. God knows what you're showing your kids on television. You obviously have no conscience. If you don't think that this is the worst of the worst, how could you sit there listening to what he did and say this is not the worst of the worst? He hunted down innocent children and staff, terrified, then tortured them, blew their heads apart like a water balloon, and enjoyed it. That doesn't make it on your worst of the worst murderers list? You make me sick.
This victim impact statement caused a fight between the judge and defense counsel.
When these people are upset about specific things that have gone on from that table, like shooting the middle finger up at this court and laughing and joking, Miss McNeil, be quiet. When these people have sat in this courtroom and watched this behavior from that table and they want to say that they're not happy about it, what is the problem?
Judge, I have no problem because I have thick skin. But once you bring in my children, I think that's highly improper. And it's
I didn't even know you have children. I don't know what you're talking about. Your children? What about your children?
For them to comment on my children is highly improper, and for this court to allow that kind of testimony is also improper.
I don't remember any comments about any children. And if there was, it obviously didn't, it came and went without me noticing it.
Judge, I can assure you that if they were talking about your children, you would definitely notice it.
You need to sit down right now. You're out of line. In fact, you're excused. You need to go sit in the back with your chief public defender.
He's the public defender, Judge.
Mr. Weeks, please ask the lawyer from your office to go sit down and not say anything else. To try to threaten my children and bring up my children is inappropriate. Go to the back of the room now. That just violated about every rule of professional responsibility that I have never. If you're going to get up here and you're going to...
Judge, I asked you to go sidebar on this matter.
You, sidebar or not, you don't have one of your assistant public defenders say something about my children?
Judge, that same venom that the court is expressing is the same venom that defense counsel had to sit through this entire morning when their children
She brought up her children multiple times during the trial. Nobody knows if I'm barren or not. They don't know about my children.
Judge.
Sit down. Sit down.
Judge.
Sit down, Mr. Weeks.
Please do not summarily dismiss me.
I'm summarily dismissing you.
The
Go
court,
sit down.
I'm asking the court. I asked the court to go sidebar.
Go sit down. You don't threaten the
Judge,
court's children.
Everyone
Your
in this
assistant
courtroom.
just did that. Go sit down.
No one in this courtroom had to endure what we had to endure.
Go sit down. Miss McNeil has made her children a spectacle more than once during this trial. That was her choice. You have absolutely no right to have one of your assistants come up here and suggest something about my children. Now, please go sit down.
Judge.
You're inappropriate and out of line. Go sit down.
At the end of the sentencing, the judge actually hugged the prosecution team along with some of the parents that were impacted directly by the shooting. The Florida bar is currently investigating action from both the judge and a defense attorney on the case. And I sure hope you're thinking about our top two, because that's coming up right after a quick break. Stay tuned as we look at our certainly most defiant defendant in court and one celebrity feud that had the entire world watching. We'll be right back. And welcome back, everybody, to a very special edition of Law and Crime. I'm Rachel Stockman, bringing you the top 10 most memorable trials of 2022. And there were quite a few. If you've stuck with us for the entire hour, we've revisited a number of jaw-dropping courtrooms. But there were two in particular that captivated the eyes of millions. So let's see who topped the list. Our runner-up comes out of Waukesha, Wisconsin. Sitting at the number 2 spot is the trial of notorious defendant Darrell Brooks Jr.
You always trying to pull some fast maneuvers.
Mr. Brooks?
And Miss Judge, Your Honor?
Mr. Brooks, the jury's coming in.
Yeah,
Show
and
respect to the
they deserve
jury.
to know this too. It's still issues that need to get addressed. We didn't even address everything.
Mr. Brooks, I addressed all of the issues.
No, I still had another one that didn't have nothing to do with nothing we just talked about.
Brooks stood trial for killing 6 people and injuring dozens of others when he drove his red SUV into a crowd of holiday parade goers in November 2021. The twist is that this defendant decided to represent himself, attempting to secure an acquittal. The trial was full of outbursts, arguments, and dramatic moments from all parties, with Brooks at the center of every one of them.
Want to give one?
How's that lawful law?
Sir, if you choose not to give one, you're not letting me finish, and you're mocking me right now, which is incredibly disrespectful once again.
So that had to be said. So it's the defendant.
Right, I need to take a break. This man right now is having a stare down with me. It's very disrespectful. He pounded his fist. Frankly, it makes me scared.
The defense would like to call the plaintiff, state of Wisconsin, to the stand.
Mr. Brooks,
You have interrupted me repeatedly. You are on the verge of being removed to that courtroom. I don't want to do that. I want you to stay here. But you keep interrupting me and bringing up irrelevant matters. I told you yesterday, as a courtesy, that was provided to you so that you would frankly not complain that you didn't get it as quickly as possible. Okay, I am not the custodian of the records. If you have an issue with what was provided to you, how it was provided to you, then take it up with the clerk of court. But from now on, I am not going to be the messenger and give you documents that you request to the custodian of the records or from the custodian of the records. They will simply have to be delivered to you at the jail.
Objection, Your Honor. Why is something always funny at that table? It would be the same thing. I'll take that as disrespect because they were allowed to say something and I said under my breath that was disrespect.
I would direct both parties to avoid commentary.
Okay, well, can you do that, please, and admonish them? Because I'm always the one getting admonished.
Everyone,
I take that as disrespect, too.
Sir, can I do my job? State's directed to avoid laughing commentary. I didn't see it, so I can't further comment. I was looking at
all these
the
cameras
witness.
in here, don't nobody
However,
see nothing.
I'm advising both parties to show decorum
man, this is not fair.
and restraint, to be respectful of this jury's time and attention. I'm going to ask this question one more time.
Man,
it calls for
I don't
a
like,
yes or
I don't
no.
like your tone and the way you're talking to me. I don't.
Mr.
I don't
Brooks,
appreciate it.
Sit down. I don't care if you don't like my tone. You've been
I'm not
pushing my
gonna sit down.
buttons all day throughout this entire
Okay, you've been
trial, and
pushing
I
my
have
buttons
showed
too.
the utmost of respect
No,
for
you haven't.
and I don't
Absolutely
appreciate
not.
you impugning the integrity of this court.
If that's
I
what you
don't.
want to call it, that's fine, but it's
Stop
not accurate.
talking.
What you mean, stop talking?
I need to make a ruling. Okay,
Well,
I'm purposely not putting you in the other courtroom
Let's
right
talk to
now.
each other like adults then.
Mr.
Because
Brooks,
I've never told you to stop talking.
There are many times, good people do bad things, but there are times when evil people do bad things. There is no medication or treatment for a heart that is bent on evil. Some people, unfortunately, choose a path of evil. And I think, Mr. Brooks, you are one of those such persons.
In the end, the jury returned a swift guilty verdict on all charges, and Brooks is now spending the rest of his life behind bars. And we've spent the past hour together revisiting some pretty intense courtroom moments, but nothing tops our courtroom out of Fairfax, Virginia. In our #1 spot is the celebrity feud of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard.
Mr. Depp, have you ever physically assaulted Miss Heard?
Never.
Have you ever sexually assaulted Miss Heard?
Never. Certainly not.
What have you lost as a result of Miss Heard making these allegations against you?
Nothing less than everything.
The couple sued each other on the grounds of defamation. Depp sought $50 million in connection to Heard's 2018 op-ed in the Washington Post titled, "I Spoke Up Against Sexual Violence." Depp claimed the article tarnished his reputation and forced him to kiss his famous Disney role goodbye.
Don't think it took Disney very long, maybe a couple of days, to announce that I had been removed from the Pirates of the Caribbean films franchise.
Heard, on the other hand, came at her former husband for double his asking price, alleging his attorney, Adam Waldman, made defamatory statements against her.
Adam Waldman, Depp's lawyer, said afterwards Amber Heard and her friends in the media use fake sexual violence allegations as both a sword and a shield, depending on their needs. They have selected some of her sexual violence hoax facts as the sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Is this a true or a false statement?
False.
And why is it false?
Well, you have to use what I've lived through and what I've survived, calling it fake, saying that I'm harming Johnny with this, I'm harming the public with this. This is what I've lived through, and to say that it's a hoax, that these aren't even real things. I mean, after everything I've lived through and survived, and also I hadn't even spoken about the sexual abuse within my marriage. I had been protective of that. I didn't want to talk about that ever. Adam Waldman was the one who put that out in the world. As remarkable as that is, I protected that. I had to go to another country to give testimony, and thankfully they allowed me to do so with confidentiality and some protection. And then Johnny, through his lawyer, not only uses that against me, but says it's a hoax.
And there's no shortage of notable moments from this trial, including the topic of an unwanted guest in Depp's bed.
She brought up the situation of the fecal matter on the bed, and she tried to blame it on the dogs.
Why didn't you think it could have been the dogs?
They're teacup Yorkies. They weigh about 4 pounds each. That was none of that did not come from a dog. That just didn't.
Said you brought the dogs. Who were the dogs you brought?
Johnny's dog, at the time, Boo. My dog, Pistol. We shared them. They're teacup Yorkies, and I believe Raquel, my best friend's dog, which is a mutt.
Okay. What, if any, issues did Boo have with bathroom problems, if you will?
Objection leading and relevance.
Overruled, I thought. She had eaten Johnny's weed when she was a puppy and had bowel control issues for her entire life, among some other issues. She was, we regularly had to take her to the vet to try to figure out, well, what was wrong with this dog? Never met a dog that was quite like this. So she had some control issues, hence why she liked to burrow in the bed. She liked to be in the, by the foot of the bed underneath the covers. And it was customary that they slept in bed with us, but Boo, having the issues she had, we have to leave her in bed so that she wouldn't be encouraged to go to the bathroom, which would happen almost immediately once you put her down on the floor. And sometimes it happened in bed too.
Also, let's not forget the moment Depp claimed his finger was severed at the hands of his ex-wife.
I stood up and I walked behind the bar, and there was a larger bottle of vodka, the kind with the handle, on it. I grabbed that and I went and I sat in my seat again. I opened the bottle and I poured myself a shot and drank it. Miss Heard was flinging insults left, right, and center, and she then grabbed that bottle and threw that at me. This is the bar where the glass was, and the bottles. If this was the bar and I was sitting here like this, she would grab the bottle and she would go there. She went there. And so I was leaning like this in the chair, looking at her. First bottle went, then got the other bottle, shot, takes the second bottle, which was the larger one. I'm in this position again, and my hand is on the edge of the bar, like that, you know, leaning over, the fingers like that, and she threw the large bottle, and it made contact and shattered everywhere. And I honestly didn't feel the pain at first at all. I felt no pain whatsoever. What I felt was, I felt heat. I felt heat, and I felt as if something were dripping down my hand, you know. And then I looked down and realized that the tip of my finger had been severed.
It was just glass and blood and broken window, and just it looked like a mess. The table was collapsed, and I walked into the study. We didn't have any sort of like coherent conversation, as you can imagine. I figured out he was missing a finger. He kind of held it up, and I said, "What did you do? When? Like, what did you do? When?" And I realized in my head that there had been many hours since this probably happened, assuming that was happened with the phone. In any case, I knew it had been way too long, that he had this blood, you know, that he was bleeding, and I said, I'm going to call 911.
And we can't leave out the couple's toxic relationship documented in court, as it was secretly audio recorded and filmed.
I said to Travis, I said to you, hey, tell Travis what just happened.
You told me to do it. You told me to. You said, go do that.
I said, no, tell him what just happened.
And I lied.
And that you punched me in the thing. And
you figured it out.
And you said, no, fucking, no, I didn't. What the are you talking about? And I watched you lie. And then
I didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
You know, you've been in a lot of fights. You've been around a long time. I know. Yeah.
No, when you have a close
You didn't get punched. You got hit. I'm sorry I hit you like this, but I did not punch you. I did not deck you. I was hitting you. I don't know what the motion of my actual hand was, but you're fine. I did not hurt you. I did not punch you. I was hitting you.
How are you tough?
What am I supposed to do? Do this? I'm not sitting here bitching about it, am I? You are. That's the difference between me and you. You're a baby.
Because you started.
You are such a baby. Grow the up,
because
Johnny.
You started physical fights.
I did start a physical fight.
Yeah, you did. So I had
because
to out of there.
Yes, you did. So you did the right thing, the big thing. You know what? You are admirable.
What happened? Nothing happened this morning, you know that?
Were you in here?
No.
So then nothing happened to you this morning?
Yeah, you're right. I just woke up and you were so sweet and nice. We were not even fighting this morning. All I did was say sorry.
Did something happen to you this morning? I don't think so.
No, that's the thing.
You want to see crazy? I'll give you crazy. That's crazy. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're crazy.
Have you drunk this whole thing this morning?
Oh, you got this going? You got this going?
I just started it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really? See, that
And in the end, the jury sided with Depp, awarding him over $10 million. And Heard, while technically losing her suit, was awarded $2 million for one of Waldman's defamatory statements. And we'll have to wait and see what lies ahead in our courtrooms across America, and we'll be right there to give you gavel-to-gavel coverage. Thanks so much for joining us on this special edition of Law and Crime. I'm Rachel Stockman.